I recently retired in Georgia after 30 years of teaching experience and all in Georgia. I am now retired under the Georgia Teacher Retirement System. I'd like to explain a little bit about how it works, and then I want to talk to you about why I don't think it's a good idea for you to work past 30 years. Go out at 30 years and don't try to put, especially not 40 years in. All right, the way the Georgia Teacher Retirement System works is they take your highest 2 years' salary, average them together, and then you get 60% for the rest of your life of that salary every year. So, for example, if you end your teaching career making $70,000, 60% of $72,000 starts off at $42,000 per year in retirement. But the teacher retirement system also gives you a 1.5% cost of living raise every 6 months throughout retirement. All right. So I many times get asked, well, I think I'm going to work 40 years so that I can get 80%, because in Georgia, if you go 40 years, you get 80% of your 2 highest years averaged together. Well, let me show you why I don't think that's a good idea. Once again, if you start at 42,000, and that's 60% after 30 years, but you get 1.5% pay increase every 6 months. Look at where it is on this chart. After the first year, you've gone from 42,000 to 43,269. After year 2, 44,577. After year 3, 45,924. And then go on out, and I've taken it every 6 months on this chart to year 10. At the end of 10 years of being retired, you're going to make 56,567. Now, these are all rough numbers, but you get the idea. Now, if you ended at 70,000 after 40 years of experience and you get 80% because you worked 40 years, look at the numbers right there. After 70,000 at 40 years, you're going to be making 56,000 per year. If you retired after 30 years making $70,000 and you get the 1.5% raise each year, you're going to be making 56,567. But here's the real kicker. Over those 10 years, the state retirement system has paid you almost $500,000 over those 10 years. Instead, if you worked those 40 years, you'd be working during those 10 years and paying more into the system. So, I worked 30 years, and in 10 years, I'll have made another $500,000 from the retirement system, versus if I had just gone and stayed another 10 years, I'd make $56,000 a year after 40 years, but I'm missing that $500,000 that I would have earned from the state of Georgia. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, you're going to get a pay raise during those 10 years. Well, if you think about it, in the state of Georgia, the pay scale for the state ends after year 20. We don't get any additional steps of a pay increase. So unless the state of Georgia increases the step scale, you're not going to get any pay increases. Now, did I get a pay increase from my last 10 years? Yes, but let me tell you what my district did. They gave us, $2,000 or $3,000 per year, each year above the pay scale, but they made it a bonus. Since it was a bonus, it didn't count towards the teacher retirement system. So I didn't get the advantage of those pay raises by my district, because since they used the bonus system instead of raising our pay, since it doesn't count for the teacher retirement system, I didn't get the advantage of claiming that 60% of those bonuses that we got. So, knowing what you know now, do you really want to work 40 years in the teacher retirement system in Georgia? You're going to make $56,000 if you ended at $70,000 salary. You're going to make $56,000 in retirement if you put in 40 years. Or if you put in 30 years, you're going to start retirement at $42,000 a year. But after those 10 years, you will be back at the same spot as if you'd worked 40 years at $56,000. But you're going to have almost $500,000 in money from your retirement system. So you make the choice. Is it worth staying to 40 years and getting 80%? Or should you go on out after 30 years and claim your 60%, knowing that you're still going to get a 1.5% pay raise each year?